All right. Hopefully it's coming through. Let me make sure it's coming through, guys. And let me make sure I'm muted. All right, I am. I am. I hope everyone is doing well. Sorry I'm late. We just wanted to make sure all the sound and everything was perfect. I'm going to let you all know that this live is going to be a whole lot of information overload. This live is not meant to scare anyone, but it is meant to educate people. So I am not a expert by any means on the warfare. So I did invite some people up on the panel with me that is able to ask the questions that need to be asked. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my guest first of all, that is more of the expert than I am for sure, which is the Aqua Adventurer, Lee.
Hi,
Hello.
hi,
And
Christy. Thank you very much for inviting me up tonight. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here for sure. I'm going to bring up Mike from Hudson Valley Prepping.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey.
Thanks so much
Hi,
for having me
Mike.
tonight.
And
Hey, Lee, how are you?
Good, mate. Good.
As soon as Jason pops back in, I will pull him up as well, but he stepped away for just a second. So tonight we're going to be talking about here in just a few minutes, because I want to give people a chance to come in. I guess we can say hi to some people here real quick. Be ready today. Hello, hello. Rapture ready. Hello. Welcome. Deacon Prepper. Hello. Welcome. Vision Preparedness. You're going to be busy. I forgot to slow down the chat. Same thing with Be Ready. I'm so sorry. Marco. Hello. At least I have 3 mods. I think I'm going to hopefully they'll be able to keep up.
Hi, Marco.
Sharon, hello, welcome. And let's bring up Jason since he is back. Pow, the Angry Prepper. All right, guys. So as I said, I am not that knowledgeable in this area. So I wanted to bring people that are more knowledgeable in warfare and nuclear. So I did bring up, I requested for the Angry Prepper in Hudson Valley to come and ask questions that I would not be able to ask. Because I want to get as much information out there as possible to you all, because it's very good information to educate us, because we are not hearing half of this from our own news, from our own media. And Lee has firsthand knowledge. He has physically seen quite a few of the stuff he's going to tell us about. And he's also going to talk about the Russia and Ukraine conflict. And he has friends that he has been in the military with that are actually directly there now. So again, firsthand knowledge based on that. So Lee, do you want to introduce yourself and give your background and your military background so people know exactly what you're about and why you're not a nut job just coming in here and talking about it?
Yeah, sure. Massive welcome. And first of all, thank you very much, Christy, for inviting me up. Tonight, I hope I can give you guys some great information on my knowledge on nuclear warfare and things. The people I've spoke about to in the States are really surprised by what information I can give. Some people might already know this, a lot of people don't. And I just want tonight to be a bit of an education and a bit of an eye-opener for you about what the real threat is, because a lot of people don't know what's just involved. But first of all, my name's Lee. I'm a former UK Royal Marines Commando, served for 12 years, deployed all over the world. One of my main roles for 2 years I spent in the nuclear deterrent depot in the UK, which is the only facility that houses the nuclear missiles, and that's where they're all made and the chemicals are mixed up, and we get first-hand shoulder to shoulder with the nuclear scientists there. So we do get to learn a lot what's really involved that doesn't really get out there. And of course, I'm not telling anybody tonight stuff that you cannot find out and do research about. So none of this is classified information as such.
Hudson, do you want to talk about your background and who you are and where you're from?
So I'm Mike from upstate New York. I'm a carpenter. I basically build houses. I got into the Patriot movement here in New York years ago. and it was a little backstabby for me. So I kind of stepped away from that and got involved in the prepper movement, and I think it was the best move I've ever made. So I'm all about preparedness. I'm all about being a patriotic American, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Jason?
Wait, are we introducing ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So my name is The Angry Prepper. People know me as Jason. Yeah, I'm on YouTube because I was told by another YouTuber who's no longer online to start a channel because the word needs to be spread. From when I started till now, it was pretty much, there might have been 20 preppers, YouTube preppers, and I wasn't one of them. I was just like a shit channel in the beginning. But now look at how many YouTube preppers are out there, and that's a good thing. The word needs to be spread. There needs to be more people talking about different ideologies on how to do different things. So I'm glad to see that there's so many channels out there. As far as myself goes, whatever. I'm just here to entertain.
All right, we have one more guest that just popped in, and I don't know how long they can stay, so I'm going to call them up here. It is the New York Prepper. Hello and welcome.
How's it going, everyone? Sorry I can't have my video on. I have an old computer. I don't want it to lag and everything, so I have to shut the camera off. But thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's one of my favorite topics, actually. So thanks
No
for
worries.
having
I appreciate you coming in. We're just introducing ourselves and talking about our background or our channel to talk about, like you just said, what you're into. So if you want to take a minute, we're actually through everyone, and that was perfect timing for you to pop in.
Yeah, so I started my channel just for the fun of it. You know, I saw a lot of other people having prepping channels, and I said, well, it'd be fun to make videos, and that's kind of where it started, and wanted to just share my own experiences and review gear and share my knowledge with people, because everybody has something that you can learn from someone else. There's always something that you may have that you want to share with the world, and other people don't know that. And if you don't share it, you're not going to help anybody out. So I figured I had my own unique experiences and knowledge that I could share. So that's where I am right now.
New York Prepper, I know that you're not going to be able to stay for the whole stream, and you had a question that you wanted to ask for sure. Do you want to go ahead and ask that now?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I was going to ask, because I get this question a lot from my subscribers, because I've done a lot of videos on nuclear war survival, and I did a bunch of videos on the nuclear war targets in the United States and Canada. And I'm trying to get a video together on nuclear war targets in Europe, because I have a lot of viewers in Europe, believe it or not. Probably like 20 to 30% of my audience is from Europe. So just wanted to ask you if you have any idea, what are like the main military bases in the UK and in NATO that you think Russia would likely target in a nuclear attack if it went full-fledged nuclear war?
Part of the main answer to this is because of the capability of a nuclear warhead, which I want to get into in a minute. A nuclear missile is just not one nuclear missile, which you know yourself probably.
Yes.
The MIRV capability, which is multiple independent re-entry vehicles. That means when one missile goes off into the atmosphere, it comes back down, and before it re-enters the atmosphere, it breaks off. And actually, one missile, a Russian missile, is called the Bulava missile, and each missile contains 6 remote-controlled separate warheads. So when that breaks off, it will fire 6 independent nuclear missiles all over. Now, because Russia is so close to Europe, we're well within the target range. And if he fires one missile, he's not just going to fire one missile. He's going to unleash a boatload from submarines which are surrounding us. So a minimum of one submarine holds 120 nuclear warheads, and then 120 will be unleashed at once. So you can imagine just one submarine targets 120 facilities. There's not even 120 main facilities in the UK. The main one being in Scotland, which is the nuclear facility, which is the only one in the UK. So just one submarine that Russia has will obliterate the United Kingdom entirely.
Right.
And that's just one submarine.
Are there any like specific bases, would you say? I know like
yeah,
like Italy,
not Pacific bases.
Sorry.
Not Pacific bases, but Pacific cities, which the bases are in and around. So like Scotland, Glasgow, and up north where the nuclear base is for the UK.
Mm-hmm.
If he targets a city, there's perhaps 3 missiles going to land around that area, which would obliterate the facility anyway.
Right.
So it's not mainly a case of bases or military bases, NATO bases, because the US have got quite a few bases in the UK as well. The main target is cities. And when he targets a city and obliterates a city, those facilities are going to get taken out anyway.
Do you think he would use, because it's so close to Russia, right? They're right next to each other. This is something that I always think about, because I know like America and NATO, they have plans to use air-launched cruise missiles from fighter jets and different types of planes. Do you think that he might do something like if it went nuclear, do you think Putin would, let's say, rather than launching ICBMs because it's so close to Russia, do you think he would just use air-launched cruise missiles with warheads on them that basically can't be intercepted?
That is a possible, but the minute is restricted, you see, by using those. There's a lot more firepower behind a submarine. If he does unleash them through air power, through jets or land power, he's got a big battle on his hands. I don't think he could deploy enough missiles to stop Russia getting obliterated. He's got to weigh up the facts of incoming and outgoing, because the minute he presses a button, whether it's from air, land, he's going to get it back from NATO tenfold. We've got miles more missiles than him, more firepower. Basically, no matter which route he goes down, whether it's by air, by land, by sea, in the nuclear missiles, if he presses or just lets go of one, he's going to get direct inbound from NATO. So he's got to weigh that up, what would be more effective for him. And certainly the more effective way for him is not by air.
Right, right.
If that makes sense.
Right. It's like you know, if you're gonna attack a bear, you're not gonna poke it. You're gonna just shoot it with the most firepower you have, because if you you're gonna get mauled. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the NATO would do as well. If he unleashed anything nuclear, NATO would bombard him.
So one question that I have is, do you think they would have the balls to launch essentially dummy rockets with the reentry vehicles and make it look like they're about to pull off a nuclear attack and then detonate these things in the air?
That'd be stupid.
To initiate the retaliatory strike, so it looks like we actually hit them first on the news?
No, that'd be absolutely stupid, because they'd have copies of radar systems. And what you don't know is about Russian Bulava nuclear missile. It does actually have decoys on board. So one missile has 6 warheads on it, and it'll also have decoys. And when it's out of the atmosphere, the decoys separate as well, and they inflate to the actual size of the real warhead. So as they're coming down from the atmosphere, the nuclear deterrents we have will not know the difference between a decoy and a real warhead. So when they're coming down, some are going to get through. And when it rains down, they will not know till it's inside the atmosphere, because what happens is the decoys burn up. They'll just disintegrate coming through the atmosphere. By that time, it's too late for them to choose which one's which. They have to send their deterrent off while it's out of the atmosphere to catch them before it comes in.
Okay.
Some are going to burn up because they're not real, the decoys. Some are going to get through, so they've got to act quick. So there is no way in this earth that
they would fake it.
They would fake it.
Okay.
Because they've already got fakes on board the missiles.
Gotcha.
And I have got a really good video on this that I've sent to Christy that she's going to play for us, which shows this in slow motion, shows the missile going off into the atmosphere, separating, the separate warheads coming off. And I hope that understands, because a lot of people that I speak to about nuclear missiles and things, they automatically think of the Hiroshima bomb. They think one missile, or Russia's sending a missile, they think, oh, it's one bomb that's going to come in and land somewhere, when it is totally not. It's one missile is 6 totally different missiles that are remote controlled, that can go to different areas. So one missile is actually 6 missiles, which people don't know about. They just get it in the head from years back with the Hiroshima bomb, that one bomb comes, lands, and obliterates an area. It is far from that.
And I actually was just getting that video ready for you, Lee. That's what I was just doing while you were talking. Do you want me to play that now?
Not quite yet. I've got a little bit more explaining to. The Hiroshima bomb, can you remember, or have you seen videos of the impact of the Hiroshima bomb? How devastating that was in Hiroshima. It wiped out thousands of land, houses, people, was obliterated. That missile, that one bomb, only had 15 kilonewtons on board it. One warhead, one of the 6 warheads that are released from one missile, is 150 kilonewtons. So one warhead is 10 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. So you can imagine the devastation just one missile and the 6 separate warheads are going to do. And he won't just release one. He has no choice to release one. If he's going to release one, he has to release a boatload. And he's got 2 submarines sat off Venezuela that are well within reaching range of anywhere in the USA. Plus, there's others around as well that we don't know, but they are about.
I have a quick question. Have you heard about the Poseidon, the Status 6? Do you think that's real, or you think that's just more Russian propaganda?
Say that again.
The Status 6 Poseidon. Have you heard of that one?
No.
That's the it's like a underwater. It's basically an autonomous nuke that travels underwater, and it has its own nuclear, propulsion that pushes it through the water. And basically, supposedly Russia already has like half a dozen of them, and they might have already deployed 1 or 2, but they call it the Russian doomsday weapon. And basically, it's like, imagine like an autonomous submarine, but it has a huge warhead on it. They say could be 50 megaton, 100 megaton. And basically, it can stay submerged for years, and then it's constantly circling, underwater. And then at any moment, if Putin decides he wants to take us out, he can direct it towards a major U.S. city like New York or L.A. or some coastal port areas and obliterate it with this massive warhead. I don't know if that's propaganda or, you know, it could be propaganda, but I was just curious what your thoughts are about that.
My thoughts on that are that nothing like that would be used because it cannot. That's just one missile. Don't forget, like I said, if he lets go of one missile, that won't do enough damage to USA or UK or any of NATO. Because don't forget, if he lets go of one nuclear weapon, he'll get obliterated. So he knows that if he lets go of one, he's got to cause the most destruction possible to USA, UK, and that won't do it. That will not be enough to do it. So no, that would never get used in my eyes. If anything, would be rained down by subsurface ballistic nuclear weapons.
Do you think they could detect something like that underwater? I mean, it's supposed to be undetectable, but I don't know if I believe that. I'm sure that you know, some of our subs detect that thing floating around underwater, right?
It depends on, because it's not engine powered and it's very quiet if it's nuclear powered. And don't forget, our submarines, USA, UK nuclear submarines, have got a stealth coating on them, special coating. I've seen the tiles. They're about 1 foot square and they're about this thick. And what they do is they absorb the radar waves that come underwater from detection ships or anything, and they just ping off of it. A bit like the stealth bomber you have and things. Well, they've got like big, thick absorbing tiles on them.
Wow.
And I presume if they're going to make anything like that, it would have to have stealth capability like the submarines do have on it. So I presume, yeah, it could go undetected. Like the Russian submarines are undetected. We don't know where they are. They're surrounding the US coast, they're surrounding the UK coast. We don't know where they are.
That explains all those Poseidon planes you've been seeing in White Prepper, scanning the coast all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, but no, I don't think that would be a stupid decision for Putin to do, is to let one of them go, because that's going to hit the coastal line, isn't it?
Right. Yep.
And it's just going to obliterate a coastal city or something and the surrounding area. He would need 50, 60, 70 of them to hit all the coastlines in one go.
Right.
But then you've still got the middle impact zone. That's going to be untouched.
Right.
So therefore, as soon as they hit the coastal, all the missiles are let loose straight to Russia. Russia is no longer. So there wouldn't be enough impact to warrant Russia being destroyed completely, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
It is really a do or die situation. If he lets go of one, he's going to get let go of 250. That is going to obliterate everything, because he doesn't have a choice.
Absolutely. I don't want to hog all the questions. I do have one more.
No, that's cool.
So, you know, there's a lot of people out there, me being, you know, a YouTuber now, I interact with different characters, and there's a lot of people out there that think that, oh, you know, the Russian nuclear arsenal is superior to the Americans, and our nuclear subs don't have the same capabilities as the Russian nuclear subs, and blah, blah, blah.
Right, here we go. I've got all the stats on this. Our nuclear missile is called the Trident II. And we first shared that with the USA made the Trident missile. It goes back, it very dates back to JFK. The UK wanted to share the missile, and JFK said he would only do it if he could use the UK's submarine base in Scotland to harbour his nuclear submarines. So they signed that agreement saying, yeah, we'll share our submarine bases with you, so we're closer together if you share your nuclear missile. So that's how come the UK and the USA share the same nuclear warhead. Range-wise, the Bulava is 9,000 kilometers range. So you work that out. That's pretty accessible from wherever he is, wherever his submarines are near a coast. They're
Right.
accessible to anywhere in the States, whether he's on the west side, east side, south side. They're going to come in. The advantage that the Russian has is it has them decoys on it to fool our anti-deterrent system. We don't have that on board ours.
Oh, wow.
As for impact, the Russian nuclear submarine launched missile has an accuracy of 350 meters range. The Trident is 90 meters.
Wow. That's really accurate.
But does that matter? No. That is absolutely useless. Because if one of them nuclear missiles is going to land 350 meters away, it's obliterated anyway. It doesn't matter if it's 150 meters away, 50 meters away. If that's within, say, 700 meter radius, anything within 1.5 kilometers is obliterated, totally wiped out, buildings flattened. So that extra little bit of accuracy don't mean nothing. The
Okay.
only advantage we've got is on ours, we can hold up to 12 warheads on one missile. Now, the nuclear treaty have agreed that we're only allowed to carry 8. So we've got 8 nuclear warheads on one of ours. Putin's only got 6 on his.
Do you think nuclear war is winnable?
I don't think it'll happen.
But if it did happen, do you think that it's winnable by one country or another?
No.
Or is it mutually assured destruction?
Yeah, mutual destruction.
Okay.
Because NATO will not launch first. So they're going to have to wait till they get launched at. And if they get launched at, they're not just going to get launched at by one missile. They're going to get rained on. Enough to flatten.
Now, with the whole Russia and China holding hands recently, do you think that if one launches, they both launch? And just, obliterate all enemies at once? I mean, once those things start flying, we know it's going to be, they're going to come from everywhere, from places we didn't even know that they existed,
It's just going to be, well, you've got a way up. NATO has got a lot of firepower. NATO
yeah, but I mean, when you
unbelievably
combined
big.
Russia and China, and if they both launch simultaneously, I mean, we might be able to get them off, but what good are they going to do? We're all freaking toast.
Yeah, and China know that, Russia know that, and I don't think it'll ever come to that, for the simple reason the generals and things, if you've been watching on the news or anything, they're not happy with Putin. They didn't want this invasion to happen in Ukraine. They're not. You can see it in the body language people who have analysed him and his commanding chiefs have said they don't want any part of this. It's Putin doing it for the simple reason it dates back to when the USSR collapsed. That's one of Putin's being his bonnets while he's in charge. It's his own personal thing that he wants to take back the USSR. He wants it back, and that's why he's invaded Ukraine. And it was only his decision, nobody else's, because the generals and the commanding chiefs didn't want that to happen. This is all off of Putin's back and nobody else's. And for that reason, I don't think that the general, if he decided he wanted to do it, it's either because he's dying, which there's massive speculation about his ill health. Is he that mental that before he goes, he'll do it to end everything? I don't think his commanding generals will authorize it, even if he says yeah, because they know he's not in the right state of mind, and they know he only started this because it's his own being his bonnet to gain back the USSR.
Yeah, I agree.
And he cannot personally authorize a nuclear attack off his own back. It has to go through so many generals, be authorized. Now, we know a lot of the generals are scared of him, and they're all yes men, even though they don't like doing it. But they still have to authorize it. And I think they've turned their back on Putin. And I don't think they'd authorize it to start with, because they know it basically end the world, end Russia. Why would they want that? I don't think it'll happen, to be honest.
What do you think about Ukraine as far as one of the things that I'm worried about is, now that Ukraine is getting really armed up, they're starting to turn the tide of the war a little bit. And, what happens if, let's say next month, Ukraine takes back some land and, Putin really...
It's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? I've got first-hand information. Russia has lost a third of its forces.
Wow.
In soldiers. 1/3 of its forces.
Their entire military.
Russia are very weak now and vulnerable. Russia knows that Ukraine have got a constant feed of arms from the USA, NATO, UK that can keep feeding and feeding and feeding. Russia haven't got that, although there's talks now with North Korea.
Yep.
Whether they're going to go on board with Russia, I don't know.
I don't
think
it's
only new.
I doubt it, because North Korea can barely support their own troops as is, and why would they? And they need a lot if they're going to deal with South Korea, right? So they can't afford to just donate.
I think China is gonna bail out the North Koreans big time financially, and I think might be part of the problem why their economy is so screwed right now. Is they're dumping money into North Korea.
There's an easy answer for this. Russia did not expect this. They thought this was going to be over with, and they'd take over Kiev, which is the capital city, within 2 weeks. They thought it was going to be a walkover. Wrong answer. So much underestimated Ukraine. It's backfired on them. Russia have lost a third of the forces. They're now weak and vulnerable. They can't get the top-ups they want. They can't get enough firepower to the front line that they need. So other countries are watching this. So why would they back now a weak country? Why would they invest in a weak country when Putin told them that he'd have this done dusted within 2 weeks? No chance.
So do you think that makes them more dangerous? Does that make Russia more dangerous now? Because they're if they're literally getting their ass kicked there, I mean, who's to say that they don't just go all out and launch? They
won't. His generals won't let him.
What if he launches from Ukraine only? Do you think NATO would respond if let's say
if it was nuclear? Yeah.
If it was nuclear and they launched on Ukraine, let's say they nuked all the cities in Ukraine and.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's against the protocol, NATO protocol, for weapons like that to be used.
So even though they're not in NATO, you believe NATO would react?
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's people that tell me that, NATO's not going to do anything. Biden's limp-wristed. He's just going to sit back and let Putin do that,
If other countries, if Biden decided no, other countries would.
Yeah, I think you're right. Probably the UK would lead that.
So other countries would. Now, Putin, he's put a threat recently to the UK. He's saying if he wants to, he can land a nuclear missile off of Northern Ireland, where I live, which would cause a tsunami, which would sink the entire island, which it would have a big impact, but that's just scaremongering.
Right.
Pure scaremongering.
Yeah,
I do think if he was going to unleash everything he had, it wouldn't be nuclear. He'd just let go with every bit of rocket power he had.
Right.
It moved that close to Ukraine, but satellites and things would see that happening. He would move that close to the borders and just unleash every rocket power and flatten Ukraine that way. He could not do it nuclear.
So he would stay conventional, you're saying?
Yeah. He's got no choice. He has to stay conventional.
Does he still have enough missiles to do that? I heard that he lost like 2,000 cruise missiles already. He used 2,000 cruise missiles.
He has lost a third of his artillery, manpower. He's on bare minimum, and he hasn't got the resources to resupply at the minute.
Wow.
So he is on his arse. And other countries are watching this saying, yeah, we're going to back this guy up. I don't think so. And I don't think they will.
The word I've been hearing on the street is that they are about to launch a massive rocket attack from Belarus on the Ukrainian heads of state. That they're gonna go for Kiev here soon. That's what I've been hearing.
Yep. I heard this.
That's exactly what I said. That's the only way they can do it, is by a massive rocket firepower.
Yeah, I think it's coming real soon, unfortunately.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah, I heard
Is the answer to that. There's only him who's going to make that decision.
right.
Lee, when we were talking earlier, what were you saying was the last count that you heard as far as troops that were lost in Russia to this point?
27,000 or something.
For troops?
27,000.
Wow.
Okay.
And then how much for the Iraq war? Wasn't it like 30,000 for like the whole 15 years or something like that?
Yeah, this is crazy. Russia have lost a third of their manpower. The weak and vulnerable.
Wow.
What was your question, New York Prepper?
No, I was just gonna say that I heard that they set up missiles already in Belarus and close to Ukraine. They're already in position now, so that's what I heard. But I heard that they have from the latest open source intelligence, they saw S-400s. They said they had a dozen S-400s in Belarus, in southeastern Belarus. I guess the question would be, can those S-400s be used offensively, or are they only just for defense?
The S-400 is an anti-aircraft missile deterrent. They're mainly ground to air to take out aircraft.
Right, but can they be rewired to hit targets on the ground?
The heat seeking.
Okay.
So that's a hard one. Now, the S-400 is one of the most advanced anti-aircraft systems that are in the world. And they are heat seeking, and they go by the trail of a jet engine, lock onto it and take it out. So how could that be incorporated into land?
Have
Like
to have
the
a
engine of
tremendous
a
heat
tank,
source.
or the engine of a tank or something. That's not really.
Yeah. Well, I heard
That doesn't really make sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I heard that they were using S-300s to hit ground targets because they ran out of guided missiles, or they don't want to use the rest of their guided missiles. So they somehow reconfigured the S-300s to hit ground targets. I don't know if they can do that with S-400s, but that's why I was asking, because I heard that they use the S-300 to do that. So, but the S-300's older, obviously, so maybe it works a lot different. I'm assuming.
I don't know how that would work, possibly, because don't forget, in the air, you fire that in the aircraft, it picks up the heat trace of it. Do you know what I mean? It picks up the heat from the afterburners.
Right.
And once it picks up that heat source, it'll then turn and follow where that heat source is coming from and crack it. Now, if there's something, how do you fire something up in the air to trace something on the ground that's kicking up heat? Basically, that could go anywhere. That could hit somebody who's burning a fire in the back garden. Do you know what I mean? That's why they let them go in the air, because it's the only aircraft that's flying past at the time. So that missile will pick it up and follow it and whack it. How do you fire something in the air to follow something on the ground when they're heat seeking? That could hit anywhere that's got a pile of dog shit or horse manure. It
Right.
could pick up on that heat and target that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that'd be a pretty reckless maneuver, mate, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like that could pick up a bus engine, a train engine, anything.
Man. So if somebody launches, run, folks. Fucking run. Run. Get to the basement. That's all you're gonna do is get to the basement and stay there.
That is the only chance, and it is something. Right, I'll let you watch the video. Chris, play the video. You'll see just by. I mean, was you all familiar what exactly is in a nuclear warhead? Like it's not one missile; it's actually 6 different nuclear missiles in one.
Yeah.
Many people don't know that.
Yeah, I think it would be good for the audience to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this will be my first time sharing, so bear with me. But I do want to tell the chat that if you all can't be respectful, you can leave. Because I'm not going to tolerate a bunch of disrespectful people in my chat. Plain and simple. You can disagree, but do it respectfully.
I cannot see chat, Krista.
Sorry, I
using
just
my
had to
mobile
address.
phone.
I was going through, and I've got a couple of people that are stirring some problems, and I'm not appreciating it. They can go somewhere else.
Just block them. Simple.
Okay.
Go on.
I'm going to try to share this. I've never done this before, so bear with me just a second. Oh, look at that. I did it. And I'm going to mute this. Lee, if you want to talk through this, you can. I've muted the sound on it.
Yeah, this is a 3-stage rocket. A bit like what you see Columbia. Can you remember the Columbia space shuttles? It works identical the same. Stage 1 will break away. Stage 2 will take it into the atmosphere. Stage 3 will be to steer it to its direction. So what you're seeing here is just heading out into the atmosphere.
It's a cool animation.
And now it's on. Stage 2's gone. Now this is stage 3 that'll take it within. It'll boost. A bit like any spaceship, you know, like it boosts to change direction. Because it's already traveling the speed because it's out of the atmosphere.
Now, Lee, this is just one missile, correct?
Yeah, that's just one nuclear missile, and now you'll see what's underneath. Once it's out of the atmosphere and near where it's deploying, then the shell will break off, which reveals, in the Russian case, it's 6 nuclear warheads. So you'll see the 6 road, and they're only the size of a road cone, believe it or not. I've actually seen these, and they're the size of about maybe a tall road cone, traffic cone. And these are all remote, independent re-entry vehicles. So each one of these has got its own destination to go to. Now the Russian ones, from the underneath there, it will deploy decoys as well, which are identical size, which will confuse our deterrent system. And each one of them warheads is 150 kilonewtons. That is 10 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. And they're accurate to 350 meters.
so funny to think that Russia has this kind of capability. When you look at their army, they can't even afford to feed their army. And like when you saw their army in Ukraine, it was like watching the Iraqi military, but
Hmm.
it's like hard to believe that they even have this kind of capability,
Yeah.
It's like they're
And
tanks from like the 1960s.
so basically, that's it. That just shows you exactly what a missile's capable of doing. And they can spread out all over the place. And if they launch one, they're going to launch the boatloads, the whole lot. That is just going to rain down everywhere, which could basically cover the United States.
So it's like a shotgun, basically,
Yeah,
with multiple projectiles. Every time they pull the trigger, you're getting hit with 6 different plus all the decoys.
well, the decoys don't come down; they burn up in the atmosphere, but it
Just enough
confuses.
to throw all the equipment off, right?
Yeah,
All your
that
tracking
confuses the
systems.
anti-deterrent systems. So
Scary.
it's very surprising to see, and a lot of people don't realize that. They just think it's one bomb that's going to land somewhere and cause mass destruction and obliterate. No way. And he cannot just launch one of them. It's impossible, because that would end Russia. And one missile is not enough to do. It would do mass destruction. Don't get me wrong. Thousands of people would be killed, but it would not wipe out United States. So therefore, he cannot just release one. He would have to unleash a boatload.
And I guess the kicker would be whether they were air bursted or ground detonated, whether we had massive fallout or just a small amount of fallout, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if those things hit the ground, it's disaster.
No, they go. I think they go off 800 meters above ground.
Well, that's for an air burst, but if you land them on the ground, I mean, then you get full nuclear fallout.
Yeah, I don't think the Russians will land them on the ground. I think they are programmed. I've watched some stuff on this. I think they are programmed to go off 800 meters above ground.
So maximum damage, minimum fallout.
Yeah.
Totally understandable with the UK being right next door. You want to minimize that fallout.
Yeah. Well, I know, for example, here in the U.S., they would go after the silos in North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. And during the Reagan administration, they super hardened the silos to withstand like 100,000 PSI or something crazy like that. So literally, in order for them to destroy our silos, they would have to directly hit them with, like, they say, like a very powerful warhead. Because of Reagan. Before Reagan, the silos were just, not hardened, but under Reagan, they super hardened them. So that's, if you're in that area of the country, then you have to deal with, ground bursts. But in the UK, I don't think you guys don't have any silos or any underground facilities.
Our only nuclear deterrent is subsurface ballistics or submarine launched. Right.
And what about are you familiar with the storage facilities that NATO has? They have the B-61 bombs spread out throughout Europe, the B-61 warheads. Do you know, like, they say that after the Cold War, they cut down the supply to like only 100 of them, and they used to have
There's a place in the south of England near Salisbury that holds a lot of them.
Okay, Salisbury. Do you still think that do you think they have only 100 like they say, or you think it's probably more? I think it's
no, it'll be exactly what they say. They're not allowed to lie or anything. There's people go in there and check. There's people from NATO who physically go in and check. Whether they're corrupt or not, I don't know, but I doubt it.
Okay.
They have like a nuclear or a war commission that will go around and check all these places.
Right, to make sure
it's in within guidelines of the treaty.
Treaty, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, Russia doesn't do that, so
No.
shooting ourselves in the foot.
So Lee, if Russia does decide to launch nuclear, who do you think they will hit first? Because you and I talked about this.
Oh, they wouldn't. It'd be timed. Don't forget, Russia's got nuclear submarines off Venezuela. They've also got them on the coast where we don't know where they are. They've got them strategically, what a long word, strategically placed all over. They would let go at the same time and obliterate at the same time.
So a lot of our audience doesn't actually know about the subs off of Venezuela. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, it's common knowledge. Putin sent 2 nuclear submarines that was harbored off of Venezuela, and Venezuela gave him permission for them to be harbored off there.
And how many missiles are on that submarine?
There is, including the 6 warheads on each, one submarine has got 120 warheads on board.
And there's 2 subs out there.
2 subs.
So 240.
240 nuclear warheads, each carrying 150 kilonewtons. That's enough to obliterate most of the states.
And those are pointed here?
Yeah. They're within close, they could reach there. And don't even worry about them. There's other submarines all around. Russia's got submarines deployed all over. West Coast, East Coast, South Coast, Venezuela. They're all around the UK, Europe. He's got them deployed. There's nothing we can do, and we don't know where most of them are. We only know about the 2 in Venezuela.
So
now,
what are the fears?
satellites saw other nuclear submarines going west. They was heading west. They go under, who knows where they are. They're out our way somewhere, your way. We do not know, but they're strategically placed now. He's readied. He's in a ready state.
Oh yeah.
So shit hits the fan. He's already placed where he wants them to be. So there's nothing we can do. If he
I
lets
worry
go,
about the ones that he hides under the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's got tons of them under there too.
They're everywhere, and we don't know where they are.
So a lot of the general fear here in America is that they're going to launch off EMPs and then hit us with nuclear. Do you think this is what would happen? Or do you think EMPs are necessary to wipe us out?
Nuclear, yeah.
Correct.
I don't think that's enough. I don't think they'd do enough damage. They cannot do enough damage like a intercontinental submarine launched missile would.
I think
Don't forget, like I say, if he lets go of one nuclear missile, he has got to make sure it counts, and he can't do that by one missile. If he were to let go, it'd probably be a combination bombardment at once.
But do you think they would hit us with an EMP first, or do you think that they would go straight to nuclear?
Straight to nuclear. This is only my personal opinion. I personally think it'd have to be nuclear from intercontinental first.
Do you think that they would try to soften us up? Let's say, for example, they detonate an EMP in addition to the full-fledged nuclear attack. So this way they could wipe out our satellites at the same time, you know, kind of like take out our comms, take out our electric grid, and then right after that, or at the same time, hit us with, 1,000 warheads. This way they can completely take out our capability of using satellites too.
I don't know, because I personally don't think so, because of the decoys on board. Do you know what I mean? He's already got them decoys, so our satellites and things to take them out are only going to take minimum out. The rest are going to get through, because they cannot decide which are the decoy and which are not the decoys. Do you know what I mean?
And how many decoys are on there? Because a lot of our general public doesn't know any of this. So they don't realize that when someone sets off a missile that has decoys as well as live in it, that our system is going to try to go after those decoys as well. So they're like, a lot of the general public doesn't hear any of this, and they don't take the time to research it themselves. So
I've done research on this, right? And there's no definite answer. I've seen explanations saying there's 4 on board, and I've also seen an explanation saying there's up to 40 decoys on board.
So
Up to
I guess
40 decoys, and there's only 6 of them legit.
my
If that's the
question would be,
holy shit.
if they launch ICBMs, how long do we have in America? How long do we have from launch till we're glowing in the fucking dark?
long enough to kiss our asses goodbye.
Let's
Oh
hope
yeah,
so.
you'll be able to get a hug from your family. From radars picking them up to destination time, hours, minimum hours. You've got a bit longer than minutes. It would take from it being picked up to satellites coming down, maybe 2 hours max. From them being picked up to you getting the warning to having to do something about it, 2 hours maximum. You've got to think like, you've seen SpaceX, haven't you? When they're coming from the atmosphere, and Columbia, when that crashed, look how long when that came down from the atmosphere. All right, they're going to see it heading over the coast first, out the atmosphere. If its destination is the coastline, even less, because that's going to come over by the time it's picked up, which direction it's going to pick up from. The satellites over the UK are going to pick them up. The satellites over the USA are going to pick them up. So it depends wherever they are locating to and which direction they're coming is going to give us a bit more time. Depends which direction. If they're coming from the China side, they're going to reach the States first, aren't they? If they go that way around. If they come from the Europe side first, it's going to hit Europe first, then USA. But they're all together. You're talking like minimum hours, because they're going to get launched off of Venezuela. These are already strategically placed everywhere he wants them right now. So you're talking minimum hours. Minimum.
So this talk here of just 2 missiles, sorry.
2 hours. 2 hours, that's it.
2 hours.
Yeah,
2
so
hours.
this talk here of just 2 missiles going off and taking out New York, one in New York and one in California, is basically a load of shit. There's many more that are going to go across the United States. So really nobody is safe.
Well, one missile has got 6 warheads on.
Mm-hmm.
So if he lets 2 missiles go, that's 12 warheads.
And each one of them individually can be directed to their target, correct?
Yeah, within a 350 meter target range, which is crazy to say. That is good. The main impact zone is going to be 1.2 kilometers. That's going to get flattened. So what's 350 meters? It's fucking nothing, is it?
I'm going to go ahead and open up questions in the chat if you guys want to start funneling those in. Aqua Marco has a question and says, have you heard of any emplacements in the Caribbean?
No.
Jason, are you still there? Do you have any questions? I saw you trying to handle business in chat, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I didn't want to, watch these people watching me look at my phone the whole time.
I'm also sorry, guys, especially Jason. I'm sorry if you all guys already know all this and I've been repeating myself. I do apologize for that.
No, not at all. No, not at all. I do have one question. As far as the warheads, are they guided in or are they remote?
The remote control. They've got a destination, satellite destination, bang, and it'll hit it within a 350 meters. So Putin's already got a global map of exactly like satellite. He can zoom in. and he wants it to say hit on Wall Street, say for instance, New York Wall Street, he can look at that on a satellite. They can put their target zone there, and it will land within 350 meters of that exact pinpoint.
All right. So if it's remote, that means it's already programmed in.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Each one of them, once they break off and they're set off in the atmosphere, going to a separate, they're already programmed to go to each destination.
Got it. Now, interception. How good is the UK and or the United States interception of these rockets or warheads coming back in?
What, as you mean retaliating?
Yes.
Right. A lot better than Russia. Russia has done 10 test launches on their nuclear warhead. No, 27, and 27 failed. Out of wait. Well, I've got this in my head. Wait. Out of 27 tests, 10 failed. Yeah, out of 27 tests the Russians did, 10 failed. Now, the UK and NATO and the US have done 161 successful test launches.
No shit. Okay. That's good to know.
So, yeah. So we have got a more reliable nuclear weapon. The Trident II is more reliable than the Bulava. They call their nuclear weapon the Bulava. We call ours the Trident II.
Okay.
It's far more superior and more test-worthy. And it's more accurate. Whether that matters or not, really, it don't matter. Ours is accurate to 90 meters. It don't really matter, does it? If it's going to land in with 350 meters, 90 meters, we're toast.
No, I'm going to try and catch it if it's coming
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
football coming down. If it's going to be that close, I'm going to try and catch that motherfucker before it hits the ground.
Well, when you were saying go to a bunker, our bunkers here are called swimming pools. So we don't really have that option.
So that's a good point, actually, Jason. Out of all them that are all launched, is not got a good track record for reliability. But, of course, we've got to act as if every one is going to work. Do you know what I mean? You can't rely on saying, oh, that one's not going to work, that one's going to drop, that one's not going to get here. Yeah, we'd have to act as if it was, each one of them would be fully active, and nothing's to say it wouldn't be. That's just his tests that have been unsuccessful.
So wait, so is there a chance that a nuclear warhead can be a dud?
Yeah, he's done test launches where they've gone the total opposite direction. They've gone set off and fucking rolled over and straight back down.
No shit. Okay.
Oh, could you imagine? That would be the cake, man. Russia launched on itself and blew itself up. Whoops.
It's happened. There's videos. You can go online and look this up. There is videos. If you look at his failed nuclear tests online, you see them coming up and they're like, go skew with, roll, come back down. He hasn't got a good track of reliability compared to NATO. But you cannot really take that into consideration. What's to say, oh, luckily everyone worked this time, or do you know what I mean? That would be a silly gamble to hope and pray that one was a dud or one went back to his land. Do you know what I mean? It'd be wishful thinking.
So Desiree in the chat said some of this information is old. Some of it is old, like Venezuela. However, there's quite a few people in the general public that don't know this information. So if you've taken the time to go find some of this information yourself, that's awesome. Lee has already said that this is public information that you can go find yourself if you take the time. But most people don't go take the time, which is why we are putting this out on the stream, so that those that don't want to take the time have this information available without spending time to go look for it.
Yeah, sure, guys. There's nothing here that you cannot dig and find out. and I'm not one bit saying that I'm a nuclear specialist. It's just that I did work closely, and it made my head tick enough for me to do research about. Because when I was working with the scientists and I was close by them and watching them being loaded onto the submarines, it made me think, holy cow, I'm close to this, like 2 meters away. I want to know what this thing's freaking capable of. So I did a lot of research and learnt about them. But it's stuff that's what triggered me off to learn about them. But you can get information out there, and I don't declare that this is not public information.
Mm-hmm. So Vision asked Aqua, do you think Mexico would join Russia and China and invade the U.S. from the south?
No. For the simple reason, if it obliterates the states, they're going to catch up some of the fallout as well, especially wind direction and everything.
That's a good point. And then he asked, what about the fight in space? The U.S. says it has a space military. Does Europe and or Russia?
Fight in space.
Our Space Force. They're saying that there's a war going on in space right now. That's what our administration is telling us. So he's asking if basically Europe has the same thing. Do they have the ability to fight in space, and are they fighting in space?
I don't know about that, to be honest, Christy. The only reason I could think about the fight in space would be over intelligence, like the satellites that are mapping out these things for Russia, the satellites that are giving Russia these informations where they can target nuclear warheads. I could see that opening up to be a bit of a battle, because obviously the NATO will not want these satellites and space mapping things out for Russia's hands. So of course there's going to be some kind of something going off that we don't know about to stop them enabling to get the satellites that do map things out for Russia, you know. Like we've got satellites that map Russia out, that we can zoom in and look right down on Russia. He won't want that, would he? Heck, he don't want us spying on him. We don't want them spying on us.
Relaxing Tunes of Peace and Tranquility asks, is questioning stuff. Is stuff hidden in cargo ships? Do you think they have
Yes.
weapons hidden in cargo ships?
China has created what looks like a Connex box, but houses 4 ICBMs, and they stack them right on cargo ships. They've been practicing with them for a couple years now. So, yes,
Guys,
they can hide stuff on
the
cargo
God's
ships.
honest truth, right? I was deployed on one for 6 weeks in the southeast, a ship, a cargo ship, and guess what? It was hired off of the Russians, and it carried all the firepower. And I was deployed on it. So yeah, that's true.
Sure.
That's crazy.
And I can tell you where we were as well, because we was in Salalah port in Oman. That's where we were based. That's where it was moored up, in Salalah port in Oman, and I was on board it. So that's the truth, yeah.
So, Desi Nounce, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, asked, how do we survive this?
Hope and pray. You're one of the very minimal few that get lucky. That is the only answer. Unless you're fully prepared, and which is case, it's near on impossible. You'd have to be a millionaire who were prepared to dig your own bunker and dig down and make your own bunker. The only other protection you've got is minimal. If people are really serious, like preppers are really serious, one of the things I would have, and I would have bought a long time ago, is a chemical warfare suit. Serious. I would have got a chemical warfare suit and a respirator and all the equipment for me and my family. That would have been, if I was really scared of a nuclear attack, that would have been one of the first things I got. And they are available on the internet. You can get them on anywhere, eBay, down anywhere. You can get chemical warfare suits. That'd be one of the first things I would purchase if you're really that worried about a nuclear attack.
For now, until our government makes those illegal to own as well. Because they're making everything else illegal in order for us to protect ourselves.
Here in New York, it's probably already illegal.
And
That's a
they're
good
cheap.
point.
They're not expensive. You can get a respirator and a chemical warfare suit and gloves
Mm-hmm.
off of eBay, off of the internet, and they're not expensive. And that would be, if I was really, really worried, that would be in my prepping kit without doubt. One for each one of my kids as well.
Yep, they're not expensive, but what we have here, because I mean, originally you weren't even aware that there were so many preppers in the United States, or why there were preppers in the United States, because you didn't hear a lot of the stuff that we were told. That's why we compared notes. But the problem is each state here can make up their own laws. So like here in South Carolina, I can own guns, but where they are, they can't. They're not allowed.
Oh, yes, I can. And yes, I do. I carry every single day.
Well, you know what I
Every
mean,
day.
though. I mean,
Yeah.
there's different states that they don't allow it. So
Yep.
each one, and now some of the states, I don't even know if this passed yet, where they're making the plates. Why can't I think?
Yeah, body armor. That's
Thank you,
New York.
Body armor.
Yep.
Illegal in some states, or I think that's across the board. They're trying to make it illegal, right?
Federally, I think they were trying to push something, but it didn't go through. Yeah.
So they're trying to pick and choose things to make illegal, both statewide and federal wide, so that whatever is coming, we can't protect ourselves.
Guys, do you know what? And this is the truth, Jason. Up until I spoke to Christy, I weren't aware of prepping. We in the UK and that never heard of what your guys were facing. It's never on our news, nothing. The only thing we ever hear about is if something like a massacre or something's happened. We never hear about what's happening, what people, poverty, or what state you're in.
But he doesn't even hear about all of those, because when I asked him, I think it was just 2 weeks ago, the last protest he heard that happened here was the George Floyd. That was the last one that Europe had heard that we had. That was the last protest they've heard about. And I'm we have them daily. Like every day we have protests, rallies, mass shootings, and they don't hear even a % of what actually happens over here. So, I mean, Lee and I talk a lot, and I fill him in on things that happen here in the United States, and he's blown away of everything that we're going through. He doesn't understand why Americans won't move. And it's like, well, a couple of reasons. One, we want our guns. 2, we can't afford it. And 3, we don't want to leave our families. I mean, point blank, those are the top 3 reasons.
Right.
And but he was nowhere near knowing anything that was happening
I
here.
honestly thought everyone was going paranoid because we're not educated by news or anything, and it was all a shock to me. I was like, wow, people are prepping, people are getting tins, storing food, everything. I was like, wow, is this stuff really happening? Honestly, I wasn't educated on it whatsoever till I met Christy.
I think there's a big news block between the countries, and they keep a lot of us in the dark. I think we have a lot more in common than you would ever imagine. I know we have to dig for it, but I do see some of the protests and stuff going on over there in Europe. The Dutch farmers, things like that.
Yep.
Same things are going on here, man. Same things are going on here, and you really got to dig to find it.
Even the chicken pox. Lee wasn't even aware that chicken pox was, or chicken pox? No, bird flu, chicken pox, bird flu. That was amping up here. He had no idea that they were, culling thousands of chickens because of bird flu. He didn't know. He's like, I thought that was gone. I'm like, I guess it's in the United States. So it's crazy. A lot of the stuff that we're fed, the fear that they're feeding, that the rest of the world,
keeping people in the dark.
Yes.
They only let us know what they want us to know.
Correct. And if you do find out something real and you start talking about it, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, and don't try to tell anybody else otherwise.
Oh yeah, it gets played down instantly.
That's a great CIA created tactic to discredit people who have real information, as you're a conspiracy theorist.
Right, guys, I'm going to ask you the question. Do you think a nuclear war is possible?
Yes.
Do you think it might happen?
Yes.
You know what? I don't know. I don't. You would ask me this a couple months ago, I'd be like, hell fucking yeah. But after the sex bots are in the chat, by the way.
Thank you.
No problem.
You brought your people. What the heck?
I know. They follow me. It's the same person or whoever account or whatever it is. But if you would ask me this question a few months back, I was like, hell yeah. But now looking at and everyone understanding this, everybody at the table understands this one thing, that if we go nuclear, we're going to annihilate the planet, right? There are going to be pockets of survivors all over the place. Everybody knows this. So for everyone to turn around and go, fuck it, let's launch, makes 0 sense, right? Especially if you want to take over the United States. Do I think we'll see some kind of ground war here in the near future? Yes. Do I think they're going to go all nuclear on us? I doubt it, man. I mean, listen, stranger things have happened, but unless it's a North Korea or some small shithole country, you know, in the middle of Europe somewhere, that's like, fuck it, we're going all out. That's the only way I see a nuclear device being detonated in our lifetime. But again, I'm less worried about a nuclear attack than I was, let's just say, a month ago. And then Putin making a speech he made last month about, you know, nuclear war and how it's a bad idea. And who if you're looking to gain world domination, world control, an all-out nuclear war is just not the way, at least not with these leaders. You know, if you have a suicide country that's like, fuck it, then yes, all bets are off. But I'm less concerned with the nuclear war at this point. It's something that we should still talk about. We should still talk about being ready for it. We should still talk about putting food away. But I don't think we should be as worried about it as we probably were a month or two ago.
Yeah, cool. I agree.
So my worry on that, though, is that if their world leaders or are on the way of checking out, like their suspicion of our leader, how, like, it's possible that that's their last FU before they check out, because they're not going to be here for the repercussions anyway.
It doesn't just go through that one person who's on checkout. It has to go through a whole rigmarole. Like Putin, if he says, right, guys, I'm pulling the trigger, he doesn't have the trigger. He can suggest, right, this is what I want to happen. It'll have to go down a chain of command, and the commanding generals can say no. Do you know what I mean? It cannot be one person who decides. It'd have to be 16 crazy guys who've lost their head, not just one.
Have you seen our administration?
And that is why I'm less inclined to think that we're going to go to nuclear war. You know, I think listen, as much as a lot of us don't like the Russians or the Chinese, they still have responsibilities and redundancies in place so that one person doesn't do it. Now, on the other hand, even Iran has that same setup. They're not just going to be like, you know, let's launch it. No, they got to go through the waters. Now, North Korea, on the other hand, it seems like he runs the show entirely, and if you disagree with him, you end up as dog meat in this country. I mean, he did it to his own brother, his cousin, or some shit.
Oh, he assassinated his own uncle. What kind of guy was that?
Right.
What the heck?
Right. So again, with that being said, I doubt very much. Not I doubt. I'm just less likely concerned right now. North Korea would be the only country that I'm looking at. Like, if they're going to launch, they're going to launch. But they also have China and Russia telling them don't do that. So there's that little bit of a safeguard.
Nobody wants to end the world.
No.
No country wants to end their own country.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, it's true. You listen. The way psych patients are running around these days, again, Jim Kong, whatever the fuck his name is, Hitachi, whatever. If he decides, I'm going to launch, he's got to listen to his counsel. I mean, his counsel's got to listen to him, and that's the only one. That's the only thing. But China does have him on a short leash. I mean, they've been sort of like coaching him on things to say. Remember that he made a threat recently. It's a fucking threat, man. The guy's fucking, he's like, he's been threatening us for how long now? Over 20 years, or at least North Korea, right? They're going to launch a nuke up our ass the last 20 years. At some point, you got to look at him and go, dude, shut the fuck up and sit down. Go back and relax, But like I said, this is just I'm not too concerned. I'm more concerned with the bullshit that's going on in South America right now, Central America, rather. Sorry. I'm more concerned with that. And the fact that, yes, Russia can attack. They might not go nuclear. They might go tactical nukes, a little smaller. But a ground war seems more likely. I mean, they're amassing troops and building military bases in Nicaragua and Venezuela. So why would
Russia won't even do that, Jason, for the simple reason they've lost a third of the manpower just fighting Ukraine that they thought they could have over and done with in 2 weeks.
That is true. That is true. You're
So
right.
why the heck they think they could take on any part of NATO is absolutely stupid. And that's the reason why Sweden have joined. Look at the two new partners now in NATO.
What about China? Do you think China can make the move? They have way more people and way more soldiers.
They have the manpower.
Yeah.
But like everyone thought Russia had the manpower, didn't they? Everyone thought Russia were one of these elite forces in the world.
They're not. Yeah.
They're not. They're absolutely weak. And it's proof that now. They couldn't even fight Ukraine off.
My biggest concern is they're using the art of war tactic where they want to look weak right now. They really want to look weak, and they want to be tested. Russia, maybe they do already have the backing of China where they say, hey, we'll give you whatever troops you need to accomplish your mission. You just have to trigger one of these people to step in so that we can do it openly without repercussion. And my other biggest concern is that I think some of these people think that nuclear war is winnable. If they turn the United States into a fucking wasteland, they got the whole Atlantic Ocean as a buffer zone before anything gets to them. Mm-hmm. For them, it could be winnable in their eyes. And that's what makes it so dangerous, is that some of these people actually think that this is winnable. That they can launch, they can hit us first. They have hypersonic missiles. We're going to have 2 minutes between launch and detonation on American soil, and they might think it's winnable. And that's what really fucking keeps me up at night.
I'd like to give you a bit of assurance. I don't think that's possible, mate. NATO has got too many nuclear warheads, and NATO is all one, isn't it? That could just go woof. They might have 250 warheads coming your way, 300. NATO have got 30,000. Do you know what I mean? So how they think they could escape it would be absolutely stupid. That'd be like throwing a bone in a dog's yard and saying, don't eat it, mate.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd be absolutely stupid to think they could do that, because the amount of firepower NATO have got, it is unreal. And they know that. That's why more countries now are wanting to join NATO.
Yeah, like he was saying, Russia, the problem with Russia is Russia has always been a pretty decent, strong country, but they try to make themselves look stronger than they are. And the problem with them is they talk too much, right? That's the other problem. There's a lot of problems with Russia. I mean, you name it, they have that problem. Except for, they have it all right now. And we seem to believe that they're stronger than they are. They're not. They don't have, they're like the bullies of the block. That's what it comes down to. They're the biggest bullies of the world. They've done this shit during Cold War. We saw that bullshit then. They're doing it now. We see that bullshit now. Again, the art of war tactic, Russia is not smart enough to do that. Russia
Do
doesn't.
you know what?
Go ahead.
The Russians have been clever. NATO's very transparent. Russia are very sneaky and secretive. That's the reason why they got away with looking so big and so good, because of the sneaky bullshit.
Right. Okay. Right. To the point. And again, I think like I said, Russia's not smart enough for the art of war. That's not in their. That's never been their culture. That culture is like, again, the Chinese, the Japanese, or anyone who actually practices it. Russia's never practiced. I can't see them turning around now and going, guys, let's appear to be weak, and then we'll have them confront us. I just don't see it. They're cocky. They're Eastern Europeans, man. They're cocky. You know, everything's fucking, you know.
Right. This is the truth, Jason. When I spoke to my friend who's out there in Ukraine, he got talking to some of the guys, and some of the guys that were sent there by Russia were reservists who were told they was on a training exercise, and they wasn't going to war. They wasn't prepared to go to the war. They didn't want to go to war, but they was forced to. Once they got to the area where they're going, they thought they was on a training exercise, and then he just turned it on the head and said, "You're going to war, get in there." None of them wanted to do it, and he was talking to them, and they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be part of the war. They was being ordered to do it. Even their own soldiers didn't want to be there, didn't want to be doing it. They was being ordered to.
Well, that sucks. I mean, listen, I don't think anybody actively wants to go to war, and especially not in this case. You know, there's certain wars where you're like, yo, we got to get some, and there are other wars you go, you fucking kidding me? We're doing what? You know, so and I've heard that before. If they were being lied to and then sent to this war, that's really shitty, because that means your men, your soldiers, they didn't have their game face on. They went in thinking one thing, right? And then they're sitting there having bullets and shit fly past their heads. They're like, what the fuck is this? And that's a game changer. If you don't put your men in the active fighting that needs to be, in the mindset that is, they're going to wind up, I wouldn't say they will totally lose, but you're definitely going to have people doing what they were doing, which I heard. They were abandoning ship, if you will. They were, you know, faking injuries. Guys are just handing themselves in. So that's shitty if they actually did that. I mean, I've heard that.
That is the truth, mate. That is 100% the truth. You told them, and most of them were reservists, not legitimate army, just reservists that there was going on a training exercise.
That really sucks. Then that really
So
sucks.
do you think that they sent basically the cannon fodder first to be chewed up in the meat grinder, and the real Russian army is still sitting back in Russia getting their shit together?
I think that stage was a bit of a tester, testing the water, but I think it's unfolded to a lot more, and a lot of their own have been fucking demoralized.
Mm-hmm.
I just totally think Russia got caught off guard massively, and he didn't expect it, and he's made a fool of himself, and he knows it.
Who made a fool of himself? Putin?
Putin, yeah.
He's an asshole. Of course he made a fool of himself.
I have a few more questions in the chat. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. We've been going an hour and a half. Do you want to go for another 30 minutes, or do you want to continue this offline after we answer these last few questions?
I got to bounce because I got kids to feed. I mean, I could throw Cheerios on the floor and they can eat it from there, or you guys decide.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Jason. I got the kids to feed, so.
Okay, so let me run through these last few questions really fast, and then we'll close out. And if we need to, we'll do this again in the future and finish.
Absolutely.
So Vision asked, and this is really a simple yes or no: if the power grid collapses first for whatever reason and the U.S. is in chaos, do y'all think somebody would take advantage of that and attack? And this kind of piggybacks if you think China is coming to our soil.
It seems like what they're gearing up for is pointing in that direction. Again, that lady, the BBC News lady, 30 years ago, who was in Taiwan. No, sorry, who was in China when they were doing an exercise on invading Taiwan. And when she was asking the Navy guys, what do you guys feel about? How do you guys feel about invading Taiwan? They said, we're not practicing for Taiwan, we're practicing for the United States, for America, is what they said. So she had this on video, and before she could leave, they took her video footage, her cameras, the whole thing. They didn't even give her a recording. They took everything from them, and then that was it. She got let go of a job because she kept talking about the situation. BBC let her go, and the Russians and the Chinese have been looking to invade the United States. I think we are their biggest. If they attack us and they succeed, we're the biggest notch on the belt or trophy or however you want to call it, because so far we haven't been invaded in such a way. Yes, America was invaded centuries ago, and that didn't work out too well for the fucking Brits.
Let's face it, the USA have got the biggest firepower.
Say again?
The USA have got the biggest firepower. You've got the most nuclear submarines. There was, it's the Ohio class
Yes.
submarine. You had 16. I think you've now got 14. 2 have been converted into missile launchers. So you've still got 14 ballistic submarines, and you've got more coming. Holy cow!
On top of that, we've got the most experienced military in the world. We've been fighting since World War II, and we haven't stopped.
Yeah.
We haven't stopped. We have the most highly trained soldiers in the world. And the only thing they know how to do is kick ass and take names.
Especially the Air Force. That's the one place where Russians and the Chinese will lose. They'll definitely lose in the air. Yeah, again, and that's talking to a couple of Air Force guys, who were like I used to work with and shit. They were like, and the Navy as well in the air. We would absolutely rule. So this country, I mean, I could see them doing it. I think it would just be one hell of a fight in trying to do so.
Yep. Not to mention your civilians. You have most of your civilians armed.
Yep. Used to be behind every blade of grass here in the U.S. Now they're behind the rocks and the trees and the shrubs and the grass. So
I do think that is a positive thing as well. I think
Absolutely.
that's a damn good deterrent.
yeah, the founding fathers knew what they were doing.
Yep.
And the other countries know that a lot of civilians carry weapons.
Really?
Mm.
They don't think we. Seriously?
We think in the UK everyone's armed. In America, they all carry guns.
Because we are.
And that's a
But
good
they wouldn't be
deterrent.
wrong.
And that's a good deterrent. And other countries see that. And they're like, fuck. They've got to. They'd have to be wrong to say, fuck that. Wouldn't they?
Yep.
Well, you know what? They would invade New York first. Way less firearms here, right? You come
That's
to New York City, you take over New York City first, you push everyone back. Because I mean the only people who are armed here are gangbangers and cops. And I
And
doubt
let you
very
be
much.
there.
Yeah, I doubt very much gangbangers are going to get involved and well, there
You
might
don't think so?
huh? There might be a couple. There might
Oh
be a
yeah,
couple.
I think a few of them would band together and
I think they would have.
Yeah, thinking about it, some of them would. So,
yeah,
thinking about it because there's some dudes like,
yeah.
yo, what are you doing on my block?
That's right. You didn't come to my hood.
Exactly.
Right. You shoot dudes for fucking way less. I'm definitely you're right about that. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you guys are right. The fucking gangbangers would probably try. They would get killed in seconds, but nonetheless, they would.
Oh yeah.
They would try. They would try.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Do you guys have any ending statements? We'll go around the circle and you guys can say your last bits, and then I'll close this out and take us off, and we can chat for just a minute if you want behind the scenes.
Guys, again, I'll apologize if I've talked about stuff you already know about and I've repeated things that you know about.
No, don't apologize.
No, not at all.
That was good. It was good information.
Yeah, appreciate everything, man. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for having me. I appreciate being here. Aqua, I appreciate all of your input, man. It really opened my eyes a bit and kind of put things to rest for me too, with the, some of the information that you put out for us tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just hope I have helped some people understand it a bit more, what's involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a tit for tat launch. It isn't. There is only one way with it, and it's total obliteration or nothing. There's only 2 ways to go with it: nothing or total obliteration.
Jason?
No. I mean, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. as always. Good lineup, including NY Prepper, who had to bounce early. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it. First time I've met you guys, apart from Krista. Thank you very much for making me feel welcome.
Absolutely.
No
I
problem.
appreciate you, Lee, coming on here and sharing your knowledge that is hidden from us. And a lot of what you said, even though some of us do know it, there's a lot more that don't know it. And that's what we need to get out so people are aware, so they kick it up into high gear and get the stuff ready that they need to get ready, because a lot of people are still asleep here and they need to wake the hell up, to be perfectly honest. So hopefully your conversation helped do that. Hudson, I'm grateful for you coming on here. I know it was a random message for me, so I'm
No
thankful
problem.
you came on and asked questions. Jason, I'm always thankful for you because y'all know about warfare way more than I do. Same thing with New York Prepper. If he's listening still, I am grateful for his knowledge as well to come in here and share and ask questions. I appreciate everyone in the chat, all of my moderators for keeping up. I know there was a lot of questions and a lot of stuff going on, including Jason bringing over his people, his porn bots from his channel. I appreciate that. I think that's the first time I've had them. And hopefully we can continue this conversation again. I want to remind everyone, please share this information out to other people. If you can hit the thumbs up or whatever, I'd appreciate that as well to get it out. And we'll continue this conversation another time. So in the meantime, do the things that you need to do. Stay safe. God bless y'all. And thank you. Mwah.
Later, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Later, folks.
Bye.